Hello everyone, welcome to this demo on how to retouch photograph. This is the part 2. On this image right here, we have a tear right on the middle. And one of the things that I have learned from doing Photoshop is people expect you to fix things for them, family members, friend. They'll be like, oh, you can fix this in Photoshop. So this is a scenario that could happen to you, or maybe it doesn't, but either way, it will teach you good skills on how to use some of the retouching tools and also how to use some of the skills of making selections that we have done already. I found this image at a garage sale, so I bought it for the purpose of practicing. And, I did this there and I scanned it. And the whole purpose of this is for you to restitch this so there's no evidence of the retouching or the Photoshop. So this is image, from the beginning. And this one right here is how it should look at the end, okay? So you can see that we cannot tell that there was a line there or the tear. So I'm going to go back to this one. And I'm going to walk you through the steps on how to do this, okay? The first thing that we're going to do is, as always, we're going to duplicate the background copy layer, right? So we have to make our copy layer right here, layer 1. I'm going to rename it just so I know what it is. I'm going to put Rito for now, even though that's not what it's going to be. But I like you to get in the habit of renaming your files. So now that I have that, I'm actually going to hide the background layer because I'm going to show you in a little bit how to do something. And I want you to be able to see that there is nothing underneath. So even though that I just duplicated this just for the habit of it, we're actually going to duplicate it twice because we're going to do a selection of this area right here so it can behave in a separate image from this bottom area. Okay, so we're actually going to have 2 images separate from this one that we can get closer. So then we can get this one all the way here and try to get as much as possible close to that tear to see if we can fix it then with the clone stamp and other tools. So that's the first part. We have to make a selection of both individually and make them into a layer, okay? So the first thing I'm going to do is, just to do it quicker, I'm going to select the quick select tool. I'm going to press W. If you forgot which one is that one, it's right here on the top left, and the toolbar is the 4th one, okay? So once I get that, I'm going to make the quick select tool a little bit bigger, something like that. And I'm just going to start dragging across so I can select what I want. One of the things that you notice that it did it really quickly, right? And it's great here. And on the sides, it's great. But on the top, because there's a little shadow there, it kind of did a little mistake. So I'm going to zoom in and make sure that I undo that part right here on the top. So I need to unselect that. So I'm going to make my quick select tool smaller with the left bracket key. I'm going to hold Option and start painting this. And you'll see that we're going to get rid of that. Now, right now it happened something that I didn't want to happen. It's basically it didn't do the edge, and I want that edge because it's part of the photograph. So I'm going to go back and re-add it. And it should be easier now because I have more control because the quick select tool is small. And I can just drag it across here. I'm careful. You see where my brush is. It's not all the way up here or at the edge here, because if not, it will select that upper part. I'm actually underneath here and letting the circle kind of like skim that area so it can select it. So something like that is good. It's not perfect there, but I'm going to be okay with that. Let's see if I can fix it a little bit right here, and then that corner right there. If you want to make it more precise, then you have to make it smaller and then zoom in even more. And then you can have more control on the edge there. Whoop, that did not work for me. Okay, so let's start over this part right here. Undo that. And we can always at the end redo it. That's one of the reasons why I like the pen tool will work better. That's sort of okay. I might have to go in there with the brush after I do the mask and fix that because I don't like that area right now. But let's just leave it like that for now. So let's zoom out. So now we have that part selected. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a mask to hide everything else, okay? So if I click on the mask right here, automatically it's going to hide everything else. And that's what I meant, that I wanted to leave the one behind it off so you can see it. So now you see what we did, right? We basically selected that area. Now I'm going to hide that one, and I'm going to reveal again the background one, because I'm going to do the same thing but for the bottom part. So I'm going to click here, press Command J, okay? And before I do anything, I'm going to write here bottom, and then on this one I'm actually going to change it to top, so that way you know what's what. So you know that this is the top part and this one is going to be the bottom part. So I'm going to do the same thing. Select this area right here. This one should be a little bit easier. Now I can also zoom in here and make sure that this is correct. I actually don't want that part right there, so I'm going to undo that. I actually want that part, so I might do that later and come back to it, but I just want to make sure that we have a little bit less than what we need. One thing that I might do in this case, because that shadow is going to give us some trouble, so I'm actually going to leave all this and I'm going to fix the shadow afterwards. So let's do that. I'm going to add this, make sure, because for me it's more important that I have the edge of the image. I don't want to lose any of that because that's going to give me some detail there that I'm going to need. So the shadow part I can deal with later. Okay, so let's add that little corner right there. What I want you to do when you do this, you definitely want to be zooming in and paying attention to the little edges. You might have to kind of like, go in there and try to do a better job than what I'm doing right now, because I'm going faster. Let me check this side, make sure I didn't lose anything. That's pretty good. Actually, this right here, I need it. This is fine. I can get rid of that. Okay. That sounds kind of okay. All right. So now that I have that on this one right here, what I'm going to do is add a mask again. All right. So I add the mask. Make sure I'm on the right layer. Interesting. Now it doesn't want to make the mask for me. Okay, let's try one more time. There we go. Okay, so now we should be able to see it. So this one is the bottom part, and that one is the top part. And the reason why I did that is because I'm actually going to try to put the two together physically to help me fix that gap that is in between. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab the move tool. Doesn't matter which one you move. Let's move the bottom one up, and you're going to put it right there as close as possible. So let's zoom in, and right away you can see that it got a lot better. Now, once you move it up, what I recommend that you do is instead of like trying to move it with the move tool, with this tool right here, I think it's better that you use your arrow keys. So you can see that I'm moving it very little by little, because it's really important that you get it as close as possible, right? Because you want to do the most job by like just getting it close. And I can see right now the left side is right there where it needs to be, but this side is not. So you might have to do Command T and then flip it a little bit so that way it will fit better. So I'm now in the transform mode. So I press Command T. That's why you see this little brackets here. And I'm going to flip it a little bit. Let's see. And now move it with my arrow keys and go closer. And it seems like that looks pretty good, actually. Yeah, that looks good. That will be enough for me to at least start fixing the image. So one of the things that I'm looking at is making sure that the lines, for example, this line matches, right? There are going to be some areas that are going to be a little bit harder to fix, like this right here. There's an imperfection there. And I'm looking at this line too. So that the lines are harder. So I want to make sure that that fits. And these other part, there's a gap there. I don't care about that. That's easy fix. But the lines are a little bit trickier. So make sure that all the lines match. So once you have that, what I'm going to have you do, and I think it's the best thing to do, is now I'm going to combine these two into a new one, because I want to leave this as a backup in case, something goes wrong and I realize I needed to move one of these two. I can do that and don't have to redo the selection and all that. Okay, so the shortcut for that is, you're going to need a lot of fingers for that one, is Command Option Shift E. Okay, again, That is merge all visible. So what that shortcut does is it combines all the layers into a new one. Okay. So the shortcut is Command, Option, Shift, E. Okay. And that's what that does. Basically combine all those two. Now, if I zoom out, you'll see that it's just one image right now. Okay. So now that we have that, I know we're starting to have a lot of layers. Some people might not do it this way, but this is the way that I work. I always want to keep a safety net. So I have the original, I have the two that I did, and I have this one now combined. And I'm actually going to duplicate it again, Command J, because I want to leave this one also as a backup. Okay, so this one is, you can put like merge. So that way you know that they're both of these merge. And now this one is the one that I'm going to retouch. So I'm going to put Redo. Okay, so that's the one I'm actually going to start cloning and all that, because I want to leave this one untouched, the merged one, just in case I need it too. Okay, so now that we got these two images together, what we need to do is start cloning all this area and figuring out how to fix all this. Okay, so to do that, there are different tools we already covered. You know, the healing brush, the spot healing, the clone stamp, and the patch tool. Now we're going to kind of decide which one to use for this. For example, in this area right here, I probably would use the clone stamp. You have to make sure that you're in the right layer. And let's make it a little bit bigger with the right bracket key. I'm going to select my target by pressing Option and then clicking here. And remember that it gives you a preview. So what I want to do is I want to make sure that I line up that preview with the area that I want to do it. So let's say there, and I click and start drawing. Okay, and then boom, you see how that cleared out. And then here at the bottom again. Now this line right here, how I explained before, you want to make sure that you go above and under, and then dragging it here. If you only do the top part, you will start noticing all that cloning. Okay, this one you can actually do it also with the spot healing brush. Probably, you see it kind of works. I wouldn't trust that one. I actually would use the one that is just a healing brush, because I can select the target, as I mentioned, from above the target, right? So now you can see my plus above, and then I go from the bottom, so that way I can mix it up and I don't leave any trace from my healing brush. Like that didn't work that well, so I'm gonna go like this here, and again here I go from here because I want to make sure I keep that line of the jacket. Okay, so I do that, and maybe from the top I do a little bit here to kind of soften that. Okay, and then this one I might need a little bit of this here to kind of blend it, and then blend this part right here. There we go. Because you want to make it as natural as possible. You know, later on, if I, everything from close, it might look okay, and then you zoom out and you realize, ooh, that's kind of soft. Like, I think this is too soft, so I will go to clone stamp, so I can put the texture of this here, so that way it looks a little bit better. Okay, and same for here. It's a little bit softer here than down here, so I'll grab from here and then throw that up there. You see, and then kind of clear that area. I got rid of that dot. Here it's a little bit soft too, so I'll probably bring from here that texture over here. Okay, and if it starts looking weird, then you have to grab from another area and throw it in. That didn't work well. That's too dark. So you have to find a texture that you need to make it look good. If that didn't work, I will probably grab maybe the patch tool even. So I'm going to change to the patch tool, and I can select an area that's bigger and try to find the texture that I need. You see, that one worked well. Let's see down here. So that's looking a little bit better. And you can even do it for this, for example. You could do something like that if you want to go quicker. But you have to be careful that sometimes it leaves like a line. Like this area right here is kind of weird. So I'm going to grab this. Try to see if I can put this line there. Oh, that's also weird. Like that one looks cleaner. Let's see how that looks. And we can see the before and after because I also merged, right, the other layer and I have it behind it. So we can already see how that's looking, right? I kind of try to clear that area there that it was originally a little bit distressed. So I'm trying to make it, you can see that this area looks weird. So I might go in there and fix that. But for now, I'm just going to keep going so that way you can see the whole process. But I would probably spend more time, for example, getting rid of that dot and this kind of ghosty area and this right here. And I want to make sure that's softened that area. And you can do that with the clone stamp by selecting the target from above and kind of like dragging it and lowering that little bump right there. And also for this one, right? So you can kind of find ways of kind of, fooling the eye so it looks a little bit smoother. And it works pretty well if you do that. And the same for down here. If there's some like ghosting, I will get rid of it. So I will spend time on this. Right now I can see some repetition here. So if that's the case, you can grab the patch tool, select that area, and then try to bring some texture from somewhere else to kind of get rid of that pattern. So from far away, it will look a lot nicer. So let's see the before and after. All right, I can see some ghosting there. I will probably clean all this right here and a little bit of here. But for now, it looks pretty good, right? The main thing that I want to do right now is get rid of that line, and then I'll go in and clean anything I need. So I'm going to keep going on my line. And I'm going to use for this one, actually, the healing brush. So that way I can go from top and bottom, and I can eliminate that ghosty looking that it leaves behind the other tools. So here I have more control because I can grab from above, from underneath, and then you don't end up with that weird repetition. And then here the same. I go from this side and then from that side and from this side. From above. And it's hard for you to tell, but every so often I'm holding Option to redo the target and then paint on the area that I need to paint. So I'm constantly selecting target. So I'm doing target, boom, click, let go, and then paint. Okay, so you have to keep doing that as you go. You can't leave the target in one area back there because it won't work. You have to reset the target as you go in an area. And then here, this is one of the reasons why I like the healing brush and not the spot one. For areas that you have texture like this, it works really well. For example, if I grab here the target and I kind of follow, you see it gives you a little preview, the line of how it will look, so you can kind of keep that texture. You see now it looks like the hair is like following there. So that works really good with this one. But you also have to be careful because if you don't do it well, then you end up with a line like off or something. And sometimes the spot one will work fine too. Let's try how that works. Let's see if I just click here. You see that did a little weird dot there. So that didn't work at all. So that's why I like this one right here. Because sometimes it works, but sometimes it doesn't. And then it's really frustrating. Like you're trying to advance and you have to keep going back to fix issues that the tool did. Okay. There we go. It's looking better. So I'm going to do that. And there are going to be some subjective moments where you decide, okay, is that the line or is that like a hair from the beard? And that's fine. As long as it looks natural and you can't tell that is, the line and it might fool the viewer that it's a hair, that's totally fine. Once you start getting rid of the line, you will notice that, it didn't look good. That doesn't look that good either. You will notice that, it's really hard to tell that it has been retouched. Like here, do you see that line? We want to follow that gap. There we go. And then here too. Oh, no, that one didn't work. There we go. And then I might break it up here so it looks like there's hair there, maybe from here. There we go. And then that part. Okay, let's go faster here. But you get the idea. Oh, that one didn't work. You get the idea of how this works. You have to go little by little. And now this part right here is really important because I want to make sure that matches. So I click here, then I follow the preview again, and then I paint it. If it didn't work down here, then I go from underneath. Okay. That's looking a little better. Same with this line. I'm going to click here and try to follow it. Okay, and then here. Okay, now I can go faster because this area is a lot cleaner, right? So I can just go like that. And again, remember, I go from above and from underneath, from above, nearby. That one looks kind of weird. Okay, that's better. Above and underneath. Okay, that's looking better. Okay, and this part right here, we have to be careful. So I click on the line, I line up the line, and I go right there. Oh, that was my mistake. I left the line there. Now I have to go from down here and do that. Okay, looking better. Okay, let's see how it looks from far away now. So there we go. That looks pretty good. If I undo what I just did, you can see that there's the line. And we got rid of it. It's pretty clean, right? Now, once you do that, then you have to go in and do all the things that we talk about in the other image. You might have to, for example, there's going to be stains here. So you want to select the maybe the patch tool for the big ones. You know, you can do something like that and then bring it to an area that's clean. So like that. For these ones, you can do the spot healing, right? Because that one is easy to use if it's just a little dot, right, like that you want to get rid of. So you want to clean this image, make sure that there is no noticeable imperfection. Even here, you know, on the forehead, there's like a stain. There's a couple dots here that you want to get rid of. So you want to go around and clean any area that has big imperfection. So this will take you a little bit, you know, and that's why I'm doing this, to make you practice. It's a great image to practice because it also incorporates making a selection and fixing it up, and making it smooth. You can play around with colors and effects if you want to add something on top of this image. And you'll notice that there are some hair here, so that one you definitely want to fix. You're going to have to make your tool a lot smaller so you can kind of like work it in there and get rid of that stuff, okay? So same here in the mouth. There's a little imperfection there, so you clear it out. And you want to leave a clean image. So once you are done, what you want to do is center the image. To center the image, I'm going to click on the one that says Redo and Merge. So I do both at the same time. I basically hold Command and make sure that they're both highlighted. And if you have the Move tool on the top right here, you will see that you can align it to the center, okay, vertically and also horizontally, right? And then that will align your images. So that's a cool little thing to learn how to do. So you want to make sure that you can do that. And once you do that and you center your image, you can go ahead and fill the background with white, so that way you can see it white. So one thing I would do is on top of the one that says top, I'll make a new blank layer and do Shift Delete. Okay, make sure that you pick white and then press OK. And then you have your white background. So this is the image that you're going to save. Once you have this centered and you have the white background, then you can flatten it. Of course, you want to save your PSD always for your own cape, you know, so you can keep it for yourself. But for turning in, then you want to submit it as a JPEG, so that way I can see what you did. I'll be able to tell how the image looks and how you use your cloning stamp. So I'm going to go in on this image and see if you got rid of all the little imperfections. And I'm going to look for that line and see how you did that patching and cloning and healing brush right there. Okay, so I hope that this will be a good practice for you to kind of learn how to retouch images. This is basically a starting point because next we're going to actually go and start doing retouching on people's faces, you know, eyes, mouth, and things like that, the skin. But this is a great practice because you already know how to use these tools. Now we're going to use it in a way that is a little bit more delicate because we're going to be dealing with portraits that have color and have more definition, and want to make sure that we keep the portraits looking good. So that's going to be our next lab. Is basically going to be retouching people. So I'll see you next time. I hope that you enjoyed this one, and if you have any questions, please let me know. Have a great day.